Yo, what is up everyone, Z-Karma here, and welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new shield introduced along with Mayhem 2.0 and the Revenge of the Cartel seasonal event, the Wattson. This shield dropped for me within the Revenge of the Cartel seasonal event, and at this moment I don't know if this shield can drop outside of the event. But as soon as I'll find out, I'll make sure to leave it in the pinned comment below. So anyways, let's take a look at this shield. It has a low capacity with a no K delay and decent recharge rate. Those stats alone are not really that appealing, but it does have a very special ability. When you take damage from enemies, there's a chance that the shield deploys explosives that are thrown forward and then they elevate from the ground up, spinning and finally explode. These can actually be thrown pretty far ahead, depends on where you're looking at or where you're aiming. Also, these explosives will be of a random element every single time. And on top of that, upon your shield being broken, it will throw out 4 of these explosives at once. And again, all 4 will be random elements. During my time of using the shield, I found myself doing some decent amount of damage. The only problem is that the explosives are really strong and will actually damage you if you're too close. This becomes a problem if an enemy melees you and breaks your shield, because when your shield breaks, the explosives will go out, and if they direct impact the enemy, they're gonna instantly explode and take the rest of your health off. And you instantly go into fight for your life. Another problem with the shield is that even though the damage that these explosives do is pretty high, when it comes to the higher Mayhem levels like Mayhem 8, Mayhem 9, Mayhem 10, some of these enemies have way too much health that this is barely gonna tickle them. But other than that, this shield fares pretty well. As for the damage that these explosives do, I calculated anywhere between 16,924 to 16,999. Since the damage is abbreviated to 16k as the base damage, I had to resort to damage conversions to other elements and see where the threshold would be in order for the numbers to make sense. So really quickly, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I am going to activate my action skill because I currently have an anointment that whenever my action skill starts, it will activate any effects that trigger on shield break or fill. Just needed to point that out in case anyone gets confused whenever it activates on its own without actually anyone breaking my shield. So I am going to go ahead and throw the explosives at him and check the damage. As you can see, 16k for cryo, 11k for shock. So since cryo against flesh is a 1-to-1 ratio and we did 16k damage, that means that that is the base damage. Then with the shock explosives, which is supposed to be a 65% effectiveness against flesh, we did 11k. This means that our base damage had to be at least 16,924 in order for that to make sense, because 65% of 16,924 is barely 11,000.6, so that makes sense. And with incendiary explosives at a 175% effectiveness against flesh, they do 29k damage, which is possible with the base damage from 16,924 to 16,999. And we could go lower or higher than that threshold and still get 29k damage, but if we did that, then the damage that we did with cryo and the damage that we did with shock wouldn't even make sense. So that is more or less how I calculated the base damage from these projectiles. Anyway, enough of that, let's talk a little bit more about this shield. I really like the idea of this shield and how it works, but the biggest problem is that it doesn't do anything at the higher Mayhem levels. Even if you add as much as you can from elemental damage, AoE damage, explosive damage, it's still not gonna be enough. Like I said, this shield could be good if you're just planning on casual gameplay on the lower difficulties, but if you're like me that likes to play the hardest difficulties in the game, then this is definitely not going to be a shield that you want to carry around. I think Gearbox really needs to work on the offensive shields like this one. The only one that's really good is the Frozen Heart shield because it freezes everything around you. Other than that, any other Nova damage or this one for example are basically useless at the higher Mayhem levels. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video there. If you guys found it informative or helpful in some way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more Borderlands 3 content, that'll be awesome as well. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.